murdered in mass shootings every single year. Almost 2 per day mass shootings. 600 mass shootings, far more people. And we're supposed to be talking here about vandalism. Give me a break. You can't sit here, Mr. Erickson. You were an employee of the Department of Homeland Security, and I want to get to that in a minute. You can't even acknowledge what your own agency said, that the biggest domestic terror threat is white nationalism, white supremacy. You're trying to get us, gaslight us up here as if Antifa, which Mr. Rosas, apparently the expert now in organized terrorist activity, has overruled the FBI director who says, there's a headline, says Antifa is an ideology, not an organization. No. Let's not listen to the FBI director. Let's listen to, what's your title? Senior writer at Town Hall, who is going to tell us that the FBI director is wrong. And I'd like to introduce, there's no question. I'd like to introduce, by unanimous consent, an AP article saying the FBI director says Antifa is an ideology, not an organization.
Without objection, so ordered.
Can I respond to that?
No, you cannot. I didn't ask a question.
It's the gentleman's time. He can spend it any way he chooses.
Mr. Erickson, you went to a meeting at the White House on December 18th, 2020, did you not?
I'm not sure which meeting you're speaking of.
That was Democratic Congress member Dan Goldman, and I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. And Congressmember Dan Goldman said that at one of these performative, bizarre hearings that were held by the MAGA Republicans who control the House of Representatives, the hearing was called Overdue Oversight of the Capital City Part 2. You may recall Part 1, where MAGA Republicans kept talking about public urination as a major issue to their political party in Washington, D.C. They basically call these witnesses in from Washington, D.C. and just yell at them and then perform for right-wing echo chamber media. But I want to show you how the Democrats push back and, frankly, message perfectly at this hearing and actually focused on issues that matter to the people. This is Democratic Congressmember Jasmine Crockett, and she talks about why is it that MAGA Republicans are so focused on D.C. street crimes when, well, they got George Santos. Play the clip.
My Republican colleagues want to talk about keeping D.C. streets crime-free. They can't even keep the halls of Congress crime-free, because we gonna talk about this, because I got 24 seconds. My freshman colleague has just been indicted on 13 felony counts, right? But have they exhibited any courage to say, you know what, we will disallow this in our body. We will make sure that we expel this individual. They have not. So what I don't want to hear is that they care about crime, because if they did, they would start by cleaning up our own house and mind our own business instead of coming after D.C. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Here is Democratic Congressmember Garcia on the House floor giving intent for the expulsion of George Santos. Play this clip.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Clause 2A1 of Rule 9, I rise to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows. House Resolution 114. Resolved that pursuant to Article 1, Section 5, Clause 2 of the Constitution of the United States, Representative George Santos be, and he hereby is, expelled from the House of Representatives. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Under Rule 9, a resolution offered from the floor by the member other than the majority leader or the minority leader as a question of privilege of the House has immediate precedent only at a time designated by the chair within 2 legislative days after the resolution is properly noticed. Pending that decision, the form of the resolution noticed by the gentleman from California will appear in the record at this point. The chair will not, at this point, determine whether the resolution constitutes a question of privilege. That determination will be made at the time designated by the consideration of the resolution. For what purpose, gentleman from Texas seek recognition?
For unanimous consent.
Back to Congress member Jasmine Crockett talking about how they just recently received reports regarding a certain member of this committee. Play this video clip.
We've got to talk about these root causes. Number one, the fact that we have elected legislators that won't do their job and protect people by keeping these weapons off the streets. That's number one. Number two, we are still reeling from a financial crisis. And guess what? They don't want to make it better. I'm sure they all campaigned and said, oh, we're going to help out the economy post-COVID. But right now we are on a cliff over the debt ceiling. The debt ceiling that was raised 3 times under Trump, and 25% of this credit card bill that they don't want to pay was accrued under Trump, and he only had 1 term. And hopefully he won't have no more. Nevertheless, I digress. Let me move on. So let's also talk about the fact that just recently, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, we received reports that there is a staff member who's working for a Republican on this committee who has ties with and supports a white nationalist who has proclaimed himself to be just like Hitler. I don't really know what to say, except for the fact that this is a farce, all right? Because the fact is, we've got an increase in crime all over. If we really want to be real about it, let's talk about it. We're talking about D.C. right now, but the murder rates in red states like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama have statistically exceeded those in blue states like Illinois, New Mexico, and Michigan every year since 2000.
Democratic Congress member Jared Moskowitz. Play this clip.
I know you got stuff going on. You're trying to find, the fake informant that now has gone missing. I know you're busy with that. But I'm hoping that perhaps the Oversight Committee, if they're so worried about, federal overreach, perhaps they can start, being focused on real government oversight. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back before I recognize Ms. Boebert. With respect to the missing informant, just so you know, just to clarify, the Grassley whistleblower is alive and well. Chair recognizes Ms. Boebert.
Back to Congress member Dan Goldman here, who says something's particularly odd to me. Play this clip.
It is particularly odd to me to hear my Republican colleagues talk so much this week about backing the blue when they also defend so many of the January 6 defendants who violently attacked the Capitol Police and MPD and injured nearly 150 officers, including causing 5 to die. And it is particularly rich hearing accusations from my Republican colleagues that anyone is soft on crime, considering the fact that a number of them have been to the DC jail to defend those violent criminals.
Back to Congress member Jasmine Crockett. Play this clip. She said what she said. Play the clip.
But what I am asking is for you to do your job and make people feel safe, especially those that are depending on you to do it when you see cases of, 48% increase in sexual assault cases. My goodness.
So
That's it. I've heard enough. Chairman, I yield my time.
Sexual abuse. I am so excited that my colleagues across the aisle care about sexual abuse, considering that the front runner right now for presidency is kind of just been found liable of sexual abuse. So I'm excited because this may mean that finally some folk will back off from supporting him because we don't support sexual abusers in this chamber. So I'm happy about this.
Back to Democratic Congress member Jared Moskowitz. You getting the theme here? Play this clip.
Why are we wasting this committee's time, the United States Oversight Committee's time, for the second time on just Washington, D.C.? Just the district. No other state, no other issue. And why, again, are we talking about crime when we're not talking about gun violence? I just came from a hearing on fentanyl, and I had to listen to parents testify and talk about how they're losing their kids to fentanyl. Serious issue. I support the chairman of that committee's bill. The data is clear on fentanyl. But you know what else? The data is clear on gun violence. The numbers don't lie. And yet, we're ignoring it.
Okay, now can we compare what you just watched to the MAGA Republicans during this hearing? This is Marjorie Taylor Greene yelling at a prosecutor who's there, the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia, Matt Graves, and saying she wants to impeach him, or she'll introduce articles of impeachment because of his prosecutions of January 6th insurrectionists. Play the clip.
And you want to talk about D.C. residents? They are victims of your abuse of power. And because of that, I am introducing articles of impeachment on you, Mr. Graves, and I yield back the remainder of my time.
Gentlelady yield.
This is MAGA Republican Congress member Higgins trying to, I don't know what he's trying to do, but the mayor of D.C. was perfectly ready for this. Play this clip.
Inhabiting that city, and is there any other city in the country where you're going to just bump into potentially hundreds of congressmen and 100 senators at any given restaurant or grocery store? Is there any municipality in the country that offers that level of personal access to the seat of government of these United States?
Congressman, I've already explained that I'm born and raised here, and I've spent most of my life here. I've been serving an elective office
when
for
you were
15
growing up,
years.
did you bump into government
Let me
officials?
just finish, Congressman.
I'm reclaiming
I
my
have
time,
never
good lady.
been to an event where I happened to bump into 100 senators.
You've lived here.
I want to remind the crowd that clapping is a disruption. So, Chair recognizes Mr. Higgins for 5 minutes.
Congratulations on not having bumped into 100 senators at one time. That would be horrific. But in the course of your life,
No, George Santos for you. But just watch George Santos. Play this clip.
It is with great dismay but complete confidence that I say that the weaponization of the United States prosecutorial system is spinning further out of control, and it is time we take a stand. It shows when we have a national crime crisis failing by the wayside because political motivated campaigns designed for nothing other than retribution on political agitators keep getting in the way of our leading law enforcement officials who refuse to prioritize the American people. With each passing year, it is becoming increasingly obvious that the CCP is accomplishing its goal of infiltrating the United States indigenously. And all the while, perpetrators, the real threat to the American people, are let out on the streets, and harmless political targets remain behind bars with justice denied. Mr. Speaker, I speak for every American when I say we are done tucking our tails and being at the losing end of every trade-off with the CCP. They take our jobs, use our technology, and steal our intellectual property. And it is turned we get robbed, spied, and deadly viruses. Enough is enough. Free Miles Guo. I yield back.
Santos. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Missouri.
Oh, and then later in the day, this didn't happen on the House floor, but Donald Trump called one of these right-wing networks and said that he was the one who got rid of Roe v. Wade. Play this clip.
Ask your response to his allegation on this, and I want to ask also, do you think that 6 weeks is going too far? Is that going to doom Republicans with the moderates in this country when it comes to 2024?
Well, Rob, first of all, I'm the one that got rid of Roe v. Wade, and everybody said that was an impossible thing to do. I put on 3 Supreme Court justices. Very few people have had that privilege or honor, and they are terrific people, and they happen to believe that Roe v. Wade should not be there. It's been now brought back to the states. And what I've done is I've given the pro-life people, who are wonderful people and loving people, I've given them the power of negotiation, because now they're able to negotiate something that's going to be very important.
Yes, Donald Trump, we noticed. We know that you did that, and we see the behavior of these MAGA Republicans. And frankly, I don't even need to provide for you my commentary in between these videos. You see it for yourself, folks. You see it for yourselves. So you can make your own decision. At first, I showed you videos of the Democratic members. Then I showed you videos of the MAGA Republican members. Make the decision for what you think, for who you think will be there to make serious and important decisions for your family, because that's what these elections are about. Frankly, these are people who are being hired to do jobs in Washington, D.C. that ultimately impact life or death. That these are people who make decisions for you, your family, your friends, your colleagues, coworkers, community, our country, the world. We got to have serious people in charge. But judge for yourself and let me know in the comments how you feel. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Thank you for watching. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1.5 million subscribers thanks to your awesome support. And check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Also, wherever you get podcasts, subscribe to the MeidasTouch podcast on audio. Have a great day. Hit subscribe on our YouTube.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.